Welcome back. Today we're going to be working on a 2011 Chevrolet Impala. We're pretty sure it needs an engine, but as you can see it's already up on jack stands. I'm going to check one thing before I start tearing apart the engine bay. I'm going to rev it up to about 2,000 RPM. Hopefully you can hear the knocking. And then I'm going to drop the oil and see what it looks like, see if there's any chunks or particulate in it. And since there's already chunks on the dipstick, pretty sure I know what I'm going to find. But I want to show the camera, and then I'll start tearing apart the engine bay. And now to drop the oil. Alright, here is the oil pan. It's kind of hard to catch this on camera. There we go. Nothing but glitter. It's got kind of a brown hue to it for some reason. This pan was perfectly clean before I dropped the oil. And you can literally see the streaks in the oil. That's all metal particulate. So yeah. This engine is definitely junk. So we're going to start tearing it down and put a junkyard engine in it. Now get started on taking out the engine. I prefer start on the top. Pull off the shrouding, airbox, take out the battery, and just kind of clear out the top so you can see where all the bolts are. No housing bolts, what accessory drives need to come off. Hold on. I'm going to start on this side with the battery, and go from there. Okay, on the top of the shroud, most GM products of this era, it's held on, not with the oil cap, but the oil cap screws in. You turn it, come down the valve, like so. I also recommend putting all these plastic pieces, bolting, not real heavy, right in the trunk. That's organization is so much easier. Connector here has a tab on it. Pull it out, down, right on. Should come on. I'd say the motor mounts. On parts like this that doesn't bolt all the way, I'd recommend just putting bolts right back where they go. That way when you're reassembling it, you know right where the bolts are and right where they go. Drain the coolant. Always step one, drain the coolant. On this particular car, right down at bottom of the radiator under this hose, there's a little pet that you can unthread and will drain out just nicely. And that's what the head looks like. You can thread it a little bit and drain nicely out of the bottom, or you can thread it all the way to drain it a little bit quicker. And a good tip, getting an actual hose pick. It makes taking off all of the hoses much easier. You can break them loose and get them to slide, hopefully without breaking the hose. Sometimes if they're old though, there's just nothing you can do to save them. Sometimes a pair of slip joint pliers is the right tool, no matter what anyone tells you. Alright, I got all the coolant lines off. Now I'm going for the fuel lines right up here. It's these two. This one is... I don't remember exactly what flavor of this one is. Takes these style of tools. You push it up from the bottom, and it'll pop it. You just gotta find the right size. And one trick to using these tools is push the fitting together, push the tool up, and then pull it all off as one. Because it's got little fingers in there that lock to this flare. Alright, for the other fuel line clip, let me give you a close up here. Looks like it could be all sorts of tricky. All you have to do is push it all the way over and pull up. Okay, next step's gonna be all the exhaust. In fact, making progress. Some black down here. These bolts right down here, right at the end of the screwdriver. Those are the bell housing bolts. That's why you need to remove the exhaust shielding, because you can't reach those very well otherwise, if at all. Okay, a lot of the connectors on this car are this style. I want to show you nice and clearly here how to disconnect these, because if you're not familiar with them, they can be a little bit deceiving. You take a pick tool, fairly sharp, don't stab yourself. You work it under this little white piece, and you just gently pull it out. Then once it's out that far, you can see this little tab, this black plastic piece here. You press down on the black piece, and voila, it comes right off. But you have to slide this little white keeper out to get it to unlock the tab that actually holds it, which is right here. And the rest are pretty similar. So now I'm going to start on all the accessory drives on the front. front of the engine up this way, and we'll keep going. The Serpentine Belt. Right here is the iron. All you need is a bare 3/8 ratchet. It's got a square hole. Towards the front of the car, and you can pop it right off of any of the smooth holes. Water pump, either holes. That's all. Sit down. Take that off. And installation is the same way. All you need to do is get it routed, hold pressure on. And yeah, it's as easy as that. Pinch off the tension and slide on through. Of course, the routing is never easy on these things. Okay, and to finish getting the belt off, you follow this power steering line down. There's a screw right down here by the bottom of the battery box. All it does is hold the power steering line and prevents the serpentine belt from coming off nicely. So you just pull that screw and you can get the belt off. If your serpentine belt looks like a wadded up ball of string when you take it off, it's definitely time for a new belt. Just FYI. Okay, next, I'm going to be unhooking this wiring harness. I also recommend a good clip tool. Screwdrivers just do not work. And a lot of times when you use a real clip tool, you can save the clip. So you can relume the wire right where it's supposed to go. Okay, this wiring harness goes back here to a couple of plugs. One's this little sensor here, right under the spark plug wires. Okay, that plug had a little keeper that shattered. That's where a sharp pick tool comes in handy. Sometimes you can hook it and pry it out. Okay, this wiring harness also goes straight down back here. A plug for an O2 sensor. So don't break that plug. This plug also has a keeper on it. There we go. These little keepers can generally be a hell of a fight. That being said, the plugs pretty much never come apart, unintentionally. Of course, sometimes they never come apart even when you want them to, so. There's that wire harness. Now just have the hot wire to the alternator. There you go. There's that side of that wiring harness out of the way. Next one we're going to work on is the power steering pump. You want to disconnect this rear line coming in over the alternator and leave this line hooked up. You can't get it off without pulling the pump loose anyway, so it's not a big deal, but just don't take that one loose yet. The power steering pump here is held on by 13mm bolts. Reach right through the pulley and unthread them one by one. That's the power steering pump, how you have to put it on. This line needs to be tight when you put it on, because there's no way to tighten it once it's on the engine. So you just lay that down in the battery box, and there you go. That's out of the way. That, not so much, but we'll get to that in a moment. Next step is the alternator. It's got one bolt here. And one back. Alright, since I don't know where this thing stopped recording, I got the spot shield out of the way. Got the oil pressure sending unit unhooked right here. And right over here is the AC pump connector. And I don't know if you see it. Yes. This bolt right here, that's one of the ones holding in the AC pump. And all you have to do is take out these bolts and lay the AC pump down. You don't have to take it completely out. And then got a whole bunch of stuff right through here. Got a knock sensor up there under the heat shield. Yeah, right there. That's a knock sensor. So yeah, I shall continue. Now to drop the starter itself, you got two bolts coming straight up from the bottom. You come in behind this brace right here, and you can see them from underneath. They go straight up and down. And the easiest way to get these starter bolts is a long swivel extension. Okay, before you drop the starter, have to get this steel bracket out of the way. Pull this little plug here. It's right on the bottom of the bell housing. Well, this is the engine oil pan right here, and this is the transmission pan, and this is the bell housing, kind of right in the center. That way we can get to the ring gear, turn the engine over with a pry bar, and get to the torque converter bolts from where we took out the starter. And there we go. Now we can easily turn the engine over. Bar over the engine, take pry bar, you rest it against one edge of the bell housing, and it can move this. You want to wipe the gear teeth on the flywheel. And one more time, you can turn it over. Torque converter's free, only 3 bolts on this one. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4. And while we're on the other side of the car, we're gonna get these 2 motor mount bolts under here. So hopefully the engine will just lift out once we get that far. Okay, here we're gonna be disconnecting the exhaust. And on this car, looks like the easiest way to do it is winch the engine forward with a ratchet strap and then get it from the top. On some of these cars, it's easier to take about 2 feet worth of extensions on the impact and get it from underneath. Sometimes it's easier to use a Sawzall if you're not reusing the exhaust. On this one, though, we're gonna get it from the top. anything is possible. There we go. And this bottom bolt is on the bottom edge of the oil pan to the passenger side of the drain plug. Same size as the rest, 15 millimeter on this bracket. Let's get back here. Looks like a knock sensor. Now, this is one of the most hated belt housing bolts in wrenching. Right there, looking through the end of the wrench, is the belt housing bolt that most people don't know exists, or they think they have to pull the rear manifold. Looking through it this way, it takes about 3 feet of extensions, but you can get it with a bunch of extensions. And yeah, well, ratchet or impact, your choice. With that many extensions, I recommend an impact. Alright, we are ready to pull the engine. Got the jerry picker set up. Got a strap on the engine. If you use a strap for lifting this, make sure it's rated for at least 1,000 pounds. I prefer a small chain, but I don't have one right now. Put a rope. There we go. Put a rope to the hood latch. Ram it down back into the trunk latch. If you're going at it alone, not recommended on pulling engines, but hey, sometimes it happens. You're not pinching any hoses or wires. there you go. Got an engine out. Engine bay empty. Now all we gotta do is wait for the repair engine from a used auto parts dealer. And yeah, don't know how many of the accessory drives we'll need, so we'll wait to take this engine apart until we get the new engine, and then we can swap over all the parts we need. We'll see you back when the replacement engine arrives. Yeah, let's see how this works.